Returning to our top story is Nationals MP David Gillespie here in the studio with me. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Tom. Pleasure to be with you again.
So, cut to the chase here. What's happening here? Is there going to be a spill of the leadership of the Nationals Party?
Well, at the moment, as you probably heard, Tom, I put my hand up for the deputy leadership position because that is what is on offer, and I would bring an awful lot to the table. If you don't recall, I was an Assistant Minister for Health. I organised the policy and developing the actual nuts and bolts of the Murray-Darling Medical School, the extra funding for the Flying Doctor Service, and many other things in the health portfolio. I am very familiar with the workings of government, and I think what we need now in the National Party is someone who's going to unite all the personalities and make sure we have someone that can negotiate, argue the case and get things through Cabinet, work with the bureaucracy, because you can't operate in this town without the help of the bureaucracy. And what I did in my last opportunity in the ministry was exactly that. I got my Cabinet colleagues on side with the policies that I wanted to do, like the Murray-Darling Medical School was long aspired for reality, and I actually delivered it. Unfortunately, I got moved portfolio, so I wasn't there to unwrap the present for everyone, but that was all the work that I did in that ministry. And I would really value the support of my colleagues to help in areas like that again.
How much support do you think you have?
Well, we're all making calls and having discussions amongst ourselves, which will remain private. But what I can say, Tom, is that regional Australia is crying out for more transparent, vocal representatives in the leadership role. And that's what I am very happy to do. As I told you other media colleagues, I'm very happy to meet with the national media, argue the case in the building, round the building,
we'll
in the national...
transparent in a moment, but when you say is crying out for, has it been lacking?
Well, look, I have, some 18 months ago, I did speak to my leader about upping the ante in the media space, and this is my opportunity to help. If I do get the nod of my colleagues, I will try and get a much more vocal presence, not just in the building, but in the conversation around the nation through the media.
Okay, so when you say you spoke to your leader, what was that saying? That we're not arguing things forcefully enough, we're not out in the public enough? That was to Michael McCormack. What was his response?
Oh, well, look, yeah, he gave a commitment to do that, but the opportunity for me to step up is here and now, and that's why I put my hand up.
Okay, but he gave a commitment to do that. Has he failed in your view?
Well, look, other people have been very prominent in the media, as you know, and Michael does a lot of media in the bush, but when you're in the leadership, I would have liked him to have done, and I still like him to do more in the national space. Regional Australia wants, people in my area want to see their leaders out and about. We have been through the biggest bush crisis that the bush has seen for generations with the bushfires. We've got the drought, and we have had ministers out there, but I would have taken a slightly different tack, and if I was in a leadership position, been able to get more prominent.
Just to be very direct about this, because you're indicating here he hasn't been doing a good enough job. Is that how you feel about Michael McCormack?
Well, look, the media space, it's very well known my thoughts on this. You don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to work out what I'm saying. It's common that I've said that in the past. And
that's your view right now. He hasn't filled that void you asked him to.
Well, at the moment, that isn't what my conversations are at the moment. My conversations are with my colleagues about whether they would support me for the leadership role, and I'll continue to do that.
I understand that, but you're also indicating that you could have a better leader. Who would be a better leader of the Nationals Party?
Well, look, that's hypothetical. At the moment, Michael is our leader, and the deputy leadership position is up for decision, and that's what I'm focusing on.
And we understand that, but you've also just made comments on Michael McCormack, clearly not happy with his leadership. Would you support a spill of the leadership?
That is hypothetical at the moment, Tom. Everything.
But I mean, your deputy leadership's hypothetical. They're all hypothetical. There's going to be a party room meeting tomorrow. That's not hypothetical. Barnaby Joyce says he'll run for the leadership if someone calls a spill. Would you call one, or would you second a call for a spill?
Look, that's not on the agenda for me today. It is wholly and solely focused on what is in front of me, and that is the opportunity to get the support of my colleagues to go into the position that Bridget has left.
But those colleagues would want to know as well whether you support the leader, whether you'd serve under Michael McCormack or not, would you?
Of course I'd serve, I'll serve under any leader.
Right, but you prefer to serve under someone else?
No, I would serve under anyone. And at the moment, our leader is Michael McCormack. So that is what is in front of me. And one of the strengths that I bring to the role is I get on with everyone in the party room. I get on with our Liberal colleagues who are the senior partners in our coalition. I have a track record of being able to work with the bureaucracy and with the media, which is a good compendium of skills if you want someone in your leadership to get out there and argue the case. As I said, when I was an assistant minister, I ran an agenda that I got my head around, the portfolio. I delivered really good things, extra funding for the rural flying doctor service that was facing the cut in competition with other players, but I was able to turn that argument around before it even reached the media.
Okay.
The Murray-Darling Medical School expansion, I was the architect of all that.
Okay, fair enough, and you've been given a chance to wear that, so there's the message out there to any colleagues that are watching.
Yeah.
I think it's fair enough, though, to get your answer on this. You're running for deputy. Would you support a spill motion for the leader tomorrow? Surely if you're running for deputy, you can tell people what you feel on that.
Yeah, look, you don't talk about anything like that. That's quite inappropriate to be talking about anything internal party stuff. Anything that I do in the party room stays in the party room. I mean, I'm sure you would love to get a comment, but I won't be able to comment on that.
You'd be telling your colleagues whether or not you support Michael McCormack, presumably?
Look, at the moment, Tom, that isn't the conversation. The conversation is the deputy leadership position, and I'll be having plenty of conversations with my colleagues, but they will remain private.
What's your confidence on getting this position?
Well, you never really know till you speak to everyone. We've got 21 people, including myself, will be voting, and during the day I'll be speaking and sounding out my colleagues. All right. And in due course, it'll all become clear tomorrow.
It will, in about 24 hours' time or so. Just finally as well, this has all come about because of Bridget McKenzie, of course, resigning. It's important to note the Gations report that we don't have in front of us, hasn't been released. The Prime Minister says it found no fault with the way the grants were administered, but we can't see it. Don't we need to see why that's justified? Because that contradicts the independent Auditor-General's report.
Well, like you, I haven't seen the Gations report, but the Prime Minister has told us the salient points, and apparently there's been a breach of ministerial standards, and he's interpreted that, and Bridget's resigned. You know, you can't rewrite history. That's the findings, and Bridget has resigned. So I'm trying to look forward, not look back and go over the embers of...
But what I'm asking, you mentioned transparency before for regional voters, and I agree this is important. You've got the Auditor-General's report saying there was distribution bias. It's a direct quote. The grants were not given to the most meritorious projects, that this was used to target certain seats, and it was done with a colour-coded spreadsheet, deliberately. And then you've got the Phil Gations report saying no bias. Surely we have to see the Gations report. Country voters would like to know the transparency there, wouldn't they? Just like city voters would.
Yeah. Look, the inner workings of PMO generally remain in PMO, and I probably won't ever see that report. But the Prime Minister's spoken about it, and that's the outcome. So
I know it's the outcome, but should it be?
Well, I think it's important that PMO has the confidence that its discussions, deliberations remain with them as long as, and they will release what they want to release. But with regards to the program...
What do you mean they release what they want to release? The question is whether voters should find out the truth here. That on one side you've got the Auditor-General's report, 76 pages, all released. On the other side, they're releasing, in your words, what they want to release. That doesn't sound transparent.
Well, all I can say, Tom, in my particular electorate, it's a very popular program. I wasn't a marginal seat by any means, but we got great outcomes for several sporting bodies who are extremely happy with it. The scoring system was one way that Ausport used to work out their priorities, but a glossy report on a desk in Canberra around a boardroom is quite different from when you're a member of Parliament on the ground in little country towns where something that is huge for your community, like Gloucester Tennis Club, for instance. They got $15,000 to upgrade all their sand courts for a competition.
So that's what the Auditor General's report was, just a glossy report in a boardroom in Canberra?
No, I'm talking about the applications. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying the Ausport process. They're down in there in Canberra. They get reports. Some organisations can have full glossies and pump up a report and make it look fantastic. A lot of the smaller applications don't have big organisations. So look, the marking gives an indication. Bridget exercised her ministerial authority. The Prime Minister said that. That was in the guidelines. But there's been a breach of ministerial standards, and you live and die by those. So it's ended up where it is, and we're looking forward to the next moves, which is filling that position. And that's what I'm interested in.
Just finally, before I let you go, can you understand why voters would be cynical? One report released in full, the other the PM quotes it a couple of times in a news conference. That happens to be the one that's better for him.
Well, that's the way it is. The PMO
doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, I know, but look, it's not up to me to be commenting on reports I haven't seen. And it might offend the sensibility, but every report and every deliberation of Prime Minister and Cabinet generally stays confidential. He blessed us with some of his observations on the report. A decision's been made and Bridget has resigned.
We'll see how your tilt goes, officially hat in the ring, and we always appreciate that in a public way, David Gillespie. So best of luck for your tilt. We'll see how it goes in 24 hours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.